En mynd fréttamannsins John Pilger, The War You Don't See, hefur vakið upp mjög áleitnar spurningar áreiðanleika frétta, stóru alþjóðlegu fréttastofana af stríðsrekstri síðustu ára, en þessi mynd sýnd á RIF. Pilger segir stöðvarnar margar hverjar handbendi stjórnvalda, sérstaklega í Bandaríkjunum og Bretlandi, og stríðsáróðurinn hafi aldrei verið meiri en núna. Hann hefur gert yfir 50 heimildarmyndir á blaðamannaferli sem nær yfir hálfa öld. Jóhannes Káur Kristjánsson ræddi við hann nú síðdegis.
Mr. Pilger, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
For decades you have criticized the mainstream media for telling uncritical stories of war and government, and those who have seen your film, The War You Don't See, understand why. Has anything changed in all those years?
No. The media always has been, it's not a new development, the media always has beaten the drums of war. It's always been an extension of governments, especially when governments or establishments feel they are under threat. The media always then supports the government. I mean, this goes way back. In the film, I started with the First World War, where the media played an open propaganda role. And that role really, in essence, hasn't changed. It's varied from war to war, but I mean here now we have this the war on terror. The media, generally speaking, in Western countries, and I'm speaking mostly here of the UK and the US, can be relied upon to put the war position, never the peace position, the war position, the government's position.
Has the role of the social media changed anything?
Yeah, yes, it has, because it's given us ways of going round the media gatekeepers. It's given us alternatives for those who know how to navigate it. But, I mean, the World Wide Web is also dominated by a lot of the major media companies. So it too is a voice of government, but there are ways around it, of course there are. But, you know, television in most Western countries is still the principal source of people's information. People watching the news tonight, anywhere, watching the BBC News in Iceland and NBC in the United States, that's the main information they're going to get. And that is, as far as the wars fought by their governments, mostly propaganda.
What reaction have you got, of your film, The War You Don't See?
Well, because the film has quite a few journalists describing in it how the system works, telling for the first time the viewers that journalists play a particularly propaganda and censorial role in the build-up to wars. And I concentrated on the build-up to the 2003 invasion of Iraq, which was, as you know, built mainly on lies. I think it was a revelation to many people. It was... The media doesn't like talking about itself. It gets very defensive. Journalists get very defensive. But I'm objective. I'm impartial. It's like becomes a kind of mysterious club that the public aren't invited to join. I think this film actually revealed quite a lot to people. So it was a glimpse of how a system works, that's all.
Today we are hearing news, constant news about the situation in Iraq, Syria, news about ISIS, Ukraine. Here in Iceland, all those news comes from some media outlet, from those big media organizations. Yeah. Whom can we trust and believe when we read, see or hear those stories?
Well, I think we have to understand the nature of of the monopoly medias. They're like 19th century imperial navies. They control their BBC and US news, particularly, going to smaller countries all around the world, have a very imperial view of the world. So who can we trust? Well, I think it's about people. There is a critical public intelligence that is always suspicious of us journalists, always suspicious of the news. So, you know, people aren't sheep, but it's very, very difficult for them. I think it is about using the internet. I think it is trusting those who challenge systems like whistleblowers in the way WikiLeaks has, in the way Snowden and Assange have. Those journalists who do what journalists are meant to do, and that is to be the agents of people, not power, and to call power to account. That's a very basic premise of journalism, which in my experience the public shares. They agree with that. And when the public, I think, see journalists doing that, they trust them. But it's difficult, yes.
Isn't whistleblowers more important now than ever?
Well, I think whistleblowers always have been important. I mean, in my career, I think the source for probably most of my stories has been a whistleblower, and that doesn't mean to say a famous whistleblower or someone exposing some massive state crime, but even people within, small people within a system. I think journalists have always depended on whistleblowers. Yes, we are living through a time of, I can't think of another time when propaganda, state propaganda, played through our television, newspapers, and certainly coming direct from governments and their vested interests, has never been more intense and insidious at the same time. We're being put through yet another moral panic about the world. So whistleblowers are crucial.
Crucial, yeah. Unfortunately, our time is almost finished, but what is your definition of good journalism?
Good journalism is absolutely essential to real democracy. Democracy has been a devalued word. Real democracy is when the people who want to control people are in power, are called to account. Journalism is absolutely integral to that. If you take away that calling to account, you have fake democracy.
Do you have faith in young journalists, you know?
Well, yes, always. I mean, young journalists come with this wonderful idealism. They understand it almost instinctively. They see it almost as a vocation. And I try and encourage them to navigate through the system and follow their own star, never be dissuaded into a system, and never think that cynicism about the public ordains them as journalists. Skepticism about power does.
Good advice for journalists. Thank you for being on the program.
Thank you.
Já, mynd Pilgers, The War You Don't See verður sýnd í Bíó Paradís annað kvöld klukkan 19:30 og eftir sýningu myndarinnar situr Pilger fyrir svörum. Hér ætlum við að ljúka kastljósi í kvöld, fylgist með okkur annað kvöld.